see Fnatic, of course, on the blue side. SK Gaming on the red. Silas, Rakan already banned away. Aatrox's going to follow up as well. And Cat. Damn you, Cat. I want to see you played so bad, but it's not going to happen. Now time to see what is going to go through for blue side. Inevitably, one powerful pick at least will be left up.
So the Aurelia, the Xayah, the Draven, all still available.
Do you ban Reckless's Draven?
So one of the, I think, kind of glaring similarities between the likes of Reckless and Crownshot, and Vedius did point it out on the analyst desk, is that there does seem to be, you know, like they're masters of very specific champions, and that their pool aren't as wide as other ADCs in the league when you look at someone like Kaveh. Now, when they do get those champions, and Kai'Sa certainly can fit into Reckless's wheelhouse, they can be really devastating on them.
I'm not calling it yet. Until I see it locked in. There's the Aurelia. Okay, this is a champion that has been taken off the board repeatedly. Now we get to see what it's going to do in the hands of Bwipo and or Nemesis. Of course, the comfort of flex picks here. Bwipo's Aurelia, not one I'm terribly familiar with, but Nemesis, of course, knows his way around the champion. And
I have to assume that SK Gaming knew exactly what was going to happen there. There's a reason why Aurelia has been banned so frequently. She is such is so respected as a champion, so they must have an answer here in either the mid or top lane position.
But now with the Neeko and the Nautilus, SK responding with a bit of flexibility of their own. We did see top lane on hit Neeko earlier in the day, and I know you kind of like seeing that champion. I'm not a big fan, but you do enjoy the top lane Neeko.
Yeah, because I feel like you can still get, we saw Wonder play the press the attack top lane Neeko earlier today, and I still feel like you can get a lot of kind of bang for your buck from the champion. You don't have to go into the AP route with the Glacial Augment, because like Kennen, Gnar, and Neeko, they kind of do all the same thing. It's long range poke, and it's hard to find range champions up into that top lane. It's like Neeko, Kennen, Gnar, and Jace.
Yeah. Now, of course, the Sivir, though, locked in. That is a Fnatic special, something that we're used to seeing. Paired, of course, with an aggressive early game jungler in the hands of Broxah. Always good to see. But now, the response on the opposite side will be the Xayah. So, a little bit of safety there in that champion pick, but also a lot of potential for chain CC. One spell shield that might not be enough for Reckless on the bottom side.
Of course, though, he, like you said, he is the Sivir expert, so hopefully he'll be able to navigate this this matchup. In terms of focusing more so on Crownshot, it's interesting. When I look at SK and Fnatic, again, they have a lot of similarities. They find a lot of their strengths through their team fighting. I feel like SK are a bit more scrappy in terms that they like to fight a lot more often, whereas Fnatic kind of curate the perfect moment, the perfect punch, and then they just use maybe 1, 2, and then knock you out. So not as trigger happy as maybe SK Gaming are, but you know, it's about scaling ADCs, it's about a lot of team fights.
The only time, or the only thing I'll contest you on, is that they are very trigger happy on teleports, specifically to bottom lane. Everything else, completely agree with, but
they
every time
give a lot of resources to Reckless.
I wish I could say it was like Reckless on a specific champion, but no, anytime I see Reckless in the game, I'm ready for TPs to be spent on the bottom side of the map. Of course, for the top side, though, the Jace has been taken away. Olaf banned, the Braum banned as well. One final ban for Fnatic before they pass it back to SK. And SK Gaming on the red side will get the luxury of last pick here, see exactly where some of these champions are going to go.
Feels like with the Olaf and now with the Lee Sin that they're trying to make sure that Broxah gets full control and full say about what happens in this jungle. He wants to be the guy who's setting the pace, who's being aggressive, as well as the Rek'Sai ban. So that's Quadra ban for junglers with Sejuani taken away on SK side, and they had to know that this one was coming.
Pretty much the only thing left, unless you wanted to get real creative, wanted to go through something like a Kindred. Karthus, of course, nerfed repeatedly over a few patches here since MSI, but you know, not going to see it quite yet in the LEC.
Still technically a lot of flex picks coming out of SK Gaming. We can make our assumptions that it's probably a top lane Neeko, there's probably a Jarvan jungle and a Nautilus support, but they really haven't shown their hands until that final pick gets in, because all three of those picks can go virtually anywhere.
Yeah. The Thresh, though, now locked in, will give a little bit more safety to Reckless on the bottom side, of course, in the form of the Lantern, as well as the Flay to disrupt some of the engage potential from the Nautilus.
So this is a bit of an abstract interaction and kind of concept, and I'll cover it when I see it in the game as, yay, Gnar. Sivir is really reliant on like her wave clear is really important, but unlike the likes of like Lucian and Ezreal, because she doesn't have a dash inbuilt, she's more about reactive wave clear rather than proactive pressure. You know, it's really scary for a Sivir when that mid lane is crashing in for her to walk up and then just start pushing it and create a pressure point for a team. She has to wait for the wave to crash so she doesn't get to create pressure. By pairing her with a Thresh with the death sentence, you're actually able to give Sivir the ability to create pressure points because she can walk forward, abuse that wave clear, and then grab the lantern back to safety.
Interesting now. So we'll see how Reckless reacts around that, if he can get a lead and maybe forego some of those weaknesses, or if he is forced to play at kind of that standard Sivir tempo. But the Gnar has been locked into on the top side for Bwipo, will now go face-to-face with the Nico. Azir, the response on the opposite side. Pyrian's going to have to survive here in the early game. We've seen what can happen when Aurelia gets started, just how much power that champion brings to the table.
So in talking with LPL teams, when I used to cast back there, Gnar was kind of seen as the worst Kennen, but in the same idea where you really just want to abuse the range. And why the LPL teams felt that he was the worst Kennen is because you never really wanted to be in Mega Gnar. You always wanted to have the range of Mini Gnar and continue to whittle people down. Now that we've seen Kennen take a couple of nerfs, especially in how he can use his resistances for trades, and it's been moved onto his ultimate, so he's more about team fighting than laning. I actually expect Gnar to climb up into priority where more top laners are, okay, I could take Kennen here, or maybe I could look for the Gnar because I feel the trade-off is better.
And one of the things that I do love about Gnar is that even if you are put in a deficit, if SK wants to focus on that top side, as that we have seen Selfmade do so many times, Gnar still always has that potential for the ideal team fight, for that 3 seconds of hard CC, rank 16, just combine the Gnar with the wall up, get so much done in a team fight. But both of these teams poised for team fighting. You talked about the similarity in styles, and it feels like we will see that clash here on the Rift. Our 4th game of the day, and so much to see. How good are Fnatic? How good is Soccer? How good is SK? Now coming into the split, it is time to find out. Fnatic versus SK. There's not going to be any crazy level 1 shenanigans from what it looks like thus far, folks. Some of the Fnatic fans may be disappointed. Of course, something that they are legendary for, but as we keep our eyes on the early game, I see 2 champions in the hands of the respective junglers, Frostgren, that can totally destroy people in the early game.
Yes, which is why I'm actually really paying attention. Fnatic are famous for their level 1s, particularly their late invades, and any type of information that they get with where the enemy jungler starts, and how Broxah uses that, not just in the level 1s, but in the level 2 and the level 3. So they clearly see where the vision is. Now, how will Broxah manipulate that information to create a very practiced window of opportunity for Fnatic?
For now, will we see... Wait a second. I was baited. Apologies, folks. I got really excited. I was like, crown shots on the top side. It's a lane now. It's Nika. It changes the champion icon. I'm gullible. Hopefully, Fnatic are not as gullible. Crown shot just using ability, so any doubt has now been dispelled.
I got so trolled at MSI because what they'll do is they'll throw out the clone as like the support, and then they'll change, and you could actually be confused that there's 2 people up there.
Oh, that's actually my favorite Nico tech. Of course, a little bit of a body block there, throws forward the Shape Splitter, hoping to force the Boomerang to bounce back early in the trade. Nemesis going to get poked out here at the level 1, of course, really needing that level 2 before she's going to be able to threaten Pyrian whatsoever. But Pyrian getting level 2 first means he will have the lane priority.
Yeah, and looking for the Aerie, so again, versatility and flexibility in Keystone for Azir in particular, it feels like going for the Aerie, you are relying more on that poke as opposed to something like the Lethal Temple that we've seen run in the LCK. So it feels like Pyrian's looking at Nemesis and looking at Aurelia like, okay, we know that they're going to pick Aurelia. I feel okay taking Azir into this matchup, and I'm just going to hold her at an arm's length, and we're just going to play the slow whittle game as opposed to like the Sand Soldier in your face game.
Because I got to be honest, if you are in combat long enough to get some value out of Lethal Tempo, you're probably already winning your lane against Aurelia. Because that just, I think, if your ideal world is getting 4 autos against Aurelia and trading, you're probably dead. And that's something that Pyrian painfully aware of course. As we looked away for a brief moment, Aurelia is now horribly far ahead in the XP game and has the lane pretty much frozen in her favor, as now we have some aggression on the bottom side. Dream's taking a lot there. Level 2 capitalized on well by the side of Fnatic, and Broxah now moving into the mid lane. Level 3 Broxah dives, not something that I have seen in a while Will they go for it here? Selfmade now moving to the top side is going to be very late if they do try to go for it. The flash forward, the side step on the Cocoon though, could be disastrous. Now trying to dash to safety and backing off. Selfmade does step back to cover, but they get the flash out in the end. Traded for Broxas.
Yeah, and if they're able to punish now Azir not having access to the flash, because that was a lot expended for Broxa, also losing access to the Scuttle Crab here. So Selfmade, Broxa, he took the gamble, he went for the flash, tried to find the Cocoon, missed. Selfmade now gets to invade and really start dictating about where he's going to attack on this map, taking away and denying that Scuttle.
And I want to see exactly how Selfmade and Sakura interact. Of course, we saw Warlive for the entirety of last season, but now they engage on the bottom side. A lot of CC's going to be able to go down on Hylissang Aftershock, mitigating some of that damage with the TP. Bot side for Fnatic, as predicted in Champion Select. Now Nemesis though moves forward, a good side step from Dreams, but I still think he's going to get taken down. First blood going through for Nemesis in the end.
And because Pyrion had been forced back, Nemesis doesn't lose anything in return. You can see that the wave is actually neutralized into the mid lane, just about to crash into his tower. And Nemesis is going to take a quick stroll back to mid lane, pick up all that farm, and not fall any far behind.
He's going to miss 2 creeps of X. Nope, not. Never mind, 1 creep of XP. Excellent position for Nemesis to now be in. He's going to pick up the wave. We'll have a CS lead. Is going to be incredibly comfortable. Finding an appropriate time to buy without the TP may be a struggle as he moves further into this lane, but everything is coming up in the favor of Nemesis right now, and anytime an Aurelia gets a lead, I feel like you just have to be scared.
Yeah, the good news is that Pyrion still does have access to his TP, that he's actually able to walk back into his lane, and he can try to play this one very safe, wait for that flash cooldown to come back up before looking for anything dicey. But I think Pyrion knew from the beginning that this was going to be an uphill climb, and he's not here to lane. He's here to pick up the farm. If he gets the opportunity, he'll look for it, but otherwise it's about playing safe now.
He's here to watch, you know? He'll wait. He'll get his time, 1 or 2 items into the game.
That's actually a really important ward, because so many junglers are using the mid lane cross pass so that they can get very quick access into the river, especially when a mid laner is pushed up. And because Pyrion doesn't have access to flash, he's just assuming that the wave will be near his tower, so making sure that he can get the vision to catch out Broxa when he decides to cross mid lane.
And of course, also incredibly important because when you look at who you're playing against, because Selfmade is usually the guy who dictates the pace of the game for SK in the early game. So not only are you setting up Broxa for success, or not only are you limiting what Broxa can do, you're setting Selfmade up for success with something closer to perfect information. But Broxa, despite that vision, has still found a way forward. Pyrion has to be careful. No flash available. The Shifting Sands is there for now. The step forward, the stun does connect. Where's Pyrion going to go? Shifting Sands, not used quite yet. Trying to buy a bit of time. Where's he going to go? Must have used it in the lane already, because now he's going to die. Nemesis finds the kill. Level 6 coming in as well.
Just too clean right there. Has the phage, made sure that he lined up the stun. Nailed down Pyrion. He didn't have the flash, and you could see when Elise approached him that he was trying to dodge, but Brox is like, I don't need to hit the Cocoon. I can just use the repel and gap close onto you.
Yeah, just wait. Wait till you see the dash come out, but it looks like it was off cooldown. Selfmade can move to the top side. The knockup is going to be there. Well dodged there. Now going in onto Sakura, looking for the 1v1, but Selfmade is on the way up. Whippo in Meganar. SK going to give him that respect. Eyes on the plates for the side of Fnatic. Still going to be a significant amount of gold. And a split between Broxa and Whippo here. Selfmade, though, still hovering, still ready to make that play.
It would certainly be death, because he doesn't know where Nemesis is. Now that he has vision that Nemesis has returned back into the mid lane, they knew that Nemesis had kited up to the top lane. Now Selfmade should find some confidence to maybe make a play, and speed of plays. Pyrion's like, I cannot lane, maybe let's go bot.
And once again, the follow-up is insane. If he is able to make his way into the bot lane, maybe throw a few people back. But instead, we'll just opt to remove the blast cone, walk through the jungle. We'll get spotted on this trinket. Coming through from the zombie ward, it looks like, and now returns to the mid lane. So Pyrion hasn't really been able to participate too much in the game yet, and it does feel like Fnatic are the team to dictate the pace. Ever since Nemesis got that kill on the bottom side, he's been pretty much in absolute control.
Yeah, Pyrion's flash, like you said though, about to come back up, so it's going to get a little bit better here. I still feel like while Nemesis has been the big... Hold it.
Oh, Hylissang immediately gets engaged on. Free hook for the Nautilus. Anytime Hylissang throws his out.
That's just a bit of a head scratcher. It's day one, guys. It's game one. Gotta get the rust off, maybe do some stretches. Excellent heads up play by Dreams.
And then, of course...
That's just one of those XD moments.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why you often see Nautilus picked into Thresh, is because you have the luxury of just throwing out your hook in response to Thresh's hook animation, but...
And then you just have, like, easier CC ripped onto your kit.
And deny him an important piece of his CC and damage, so... Difficult situation there for Hylissang. We say this about Hylissang, he takes risks, for sure. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That one did not. Luckily for him, the kill does not go over to Crown Shot. It will go over to Dreams. So their supportal combat can continue. But Crownshot, I think, would much prefer to have the gold for now, though. Eyes on the top side of the map. Soccer looking to line up a snare with the minions, potentially. Stepping forward, though, Bwipo looking a lot more comfortable in this lane. Very defensive itemization here.
Double Ruby Crystal into the Merc Treads.
Not interested in getting chunked out.
It feels like Bwipo has really, again, we're using this word weak side top laner, and it's not to imply anything about their skill. It's simply just the numbers advantage usually dictates it. You're not getting resources. The jungler's not camping your lane. No one's roaming up there. You're kind of left open on an island, and Bwipo, that's kind of been his identity for Fnatic in spring, and he is playing it much closer to the chest this time around with that defensive itemization.
Yeah, king of the weak side. The Gangplank champion. Of course, do the same on Gnar. See how it shapes up once we get those first items coming in. I assume it will still be the Black Cleaver for Gnar, though we will have to find out. Dreams and Selfmade stepping forward. Hook will connect onto the Nautilus this time. Brox is there for a lot of immediate damage. Aftershock has not been procced yet. James is going to be very tanky as he walks away. Selfmade goes down to Cataclysm, but an immediate flash out. I don't know if that was worth it.
I feel like that's one of those testing moments about how much damage and how tanky Nautilus really is. But they're going back for round 2.
There's no Aftershock on Dreams. He will get popped in a second if Fnatic do want to commit to the play.
Also, Sakura there, making sure that he was pushed the wave forward, and because Bwipo is playing weak side and the wave is getting shoved into him, it opens up those abilities for the Nico to start cheating towards that mid lane, possibly look to make plays with the team.
But Bwipo happy to have the pressure. Also the tower plate as well. You can see a pretty significant CS difference starting to build, but SK waiting in the brush there.
Big wave is pushed into Nico right now, so it's not as big as it looks right now, so he should start to clean that up.
We'll see.
It's still like 10 CS,
yeah, absolutely.
It's not 20 CS.
I was like, well, my commentary was, how many CS is Nico actually going to get under tower? And a few is the answer. Sakura getting about 3 or 4 there. And as you mentioned, still the 10 CS deficit. Almost a 2K goal lead now in the favor of Fnatic. 10 minutes into the game. 2 kills, of course, going to be a big part of that CS lead in the top lane, but feels like neither side really pulling a trigger on a major play yet. No towers have gone down, no big objectives have gone down. It's not a cloud, it is an ocean, so you do expect teams to fight over it at least a little bit in the early game.
And both teams are actually completely comfortable to take this gentleman's handshake if they want. Just decide, hey guys, we're cool farming it up. One team's got an Azir and a Xayah, the other one has a Sivir.
Yeah, let's talk, because we've talked a lot today about one-item team comps. You know, we've seen a lot of them, we've seen a lot of the Illusions. Aurelia, obviously a very strong champion on one. Is this a one-item game or is this like a 3-item game? Are we just waiting for the 80 carries to get powered up and ready to go?
I mean, there's different bridge points, and especially with Aurelia running around with the Trinity Force at 11 minutes into the game, it can start to speed up. We talk about kind of like bridge champions or bridging points. You're looking at champions that have action in the early and the mid game to kind of like pass the baton, if you will.
Yeah.
This is a relay race.
So you carry here, I carry later. So like Elise carries early game, presumably someone else can then impact mid to late.
And the terrifying thing about Aurelia is it feels like she never really has to give up the baton. She's like, she's got it in the early game, she gets it in the mid game, and then late game she's still absolutely terrifying, which is why we normally see her banned.
What do you call champions that always have the baton, Frosco? Is their name?
Usain Bolt.
Oh. I was okay.
I went with the race.
I was I was with the
sprint.
The sprinting metaphor. I was just gonna say overpowered, but you know we each have our own.
He's still overpowered.
Can't stop him. Now, Fnatic moving towards the bottom side. Are set up to just continue to pressure here. Crownshot has to be very careful about stepping forward. Of course, does have the luxury of the ultimate as well as the cleanse. That is a very safe Crownshot. Will use the ultimate, does not want to burn the cleanse in the exchange. Clears out the wave as well, so nicely played, and Brox are just going to move right back up into the mid lane. Perfect vision on the bottom side for Fnatic.
Yeah, this is Fnatic exerting their power, not through skirmishing and fighting, but through the control that they get over the mid lane and access to the river. And with that control wards, like you just mentioned, it makes it so much easier for Reckless and Hilly to pick up those free plates, and then to immediately rotate topside and push SK off of this Rift Herald.
Which is important to do. Rift, they've already secured the Ocean Drake. And see if they want to set up for another objective. I feel like Dreams is perpetually looking for an engage here.
That's the Nautilus life.
It's so funny to me because there's so many parallels between Dreams and Hylissang. Well, I feel like Hylissang...
There's a lot of parallels between SK and Fnatic, like stylistically.
It's uncomfortable a little bit. Nemesis and Broxa, though, going to look to shift things up. Crownshot, of course, does have the cleanse, but does not have the ultimate. And Nemesis is very strong right now. Uses his stun, though.
Still diving Nautilus and Xayah. Scary. Now, Crownshot doesn't have access to ultimate, but he does have flash and cleanse. So I do like the fact that Fnatic they're cheating that way. They are starting to build up small incremental leads for themselves in like their individual lanes, but they're not gonna just pull the trigger and throw everything away. They're being respectful still.
Reckless, though, out of mana. Means that SK can probably take control of this lane once again. He is going to back off. Most likely will return to complete his first item. See if he can actually get an optimal back timing here. Yeah, it will be the Essence Reaver as well as the free boots coming through. Of course, nerfed since we last saw them. Only coming in now 12 minutes into the game. Frostgren, one item on each of our 2 to 3 item AD carries.
I mean, I already told you that this wasn't going to be a one item game.
I know you did, but I want you to lie to me. Tell me they're gonna fight.
They're not gonna. I mean, they could. It's Fnatic versus SK, but again, right now it feels like Fnatic are in control of this game because they have the priority in the mid lane through the kill pressure. Because Nemesis is
Aurelia
terrifying.
Yes.
And so it's Fnatic in the driver's seat and kind of get to pick. Okay, do we want to fight? Do we want to look for picks right now? This is the Hilly special. Gank in the mid lane.
The slow, steady walk forward. Now remember the ward that you mentioned earlier in the game. No longer there. So Hylissang does have the freedom to walk up here. Completely not going to get spotted out. And okay, Hylissang. That he's...
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly, but also that was like that would have hit if he was like super mega challenger for sure. That's exactly where he would have stood.
Brox is looking for the gank. Pyrian, how much do you want it?
I feel like he could have waited on that one. Broxa. Pyrian doesn't even know he's playing Minesweeper right now, but he absolutely is. There it is.
Swing and a miss. That's 2 skill shots.
It's like, Pyrian, do you know you're walking through a minefield right now? He's like, what?
Strolling.
How many people are coming to kill me in the mid lane? Casual, though.
We've now got this tug of war where people just shove waves forward and then everyone starts cutting in towards the mid lane. Someone's going to get restless in a second and just try to force a play.
Yeah. Whippo was getting a little restless on the trade there. Goes in, obviously trying to fight for lane pressure, but does give up a lot of life in response. And Broxa, free access to this Herald. And I like how Fnatic have transitioned that bot side vision into some top side vision to secure this Herald. It's a good look overall. Reckless and Hylissang now moving into the mid lane as well. So just a nice shift up to the top side of the map for Fnatic, willing to give up some of those, some of that pressure on the bottom side now that the plates are gone to focus on the mid lane. Ulti hits, and that's going to be the hook he was looking for. Reckless grabbing the kill. Pyrian couldn't dodge them all. Well played.
And every single one of Fnatic's lanes is winning right now. And look at what a difference that means for SK and Selfmade in particular when he doesn't, or he can't find a point on the map to attack. This just looks like a completely different jungler. When was the last time you saw Selfmade? 60 minutes in a game, 0, 0, and 0.
I don't actually think I've ever seen that, Frostgren.
It's got that good farm, but...
Yeah, and SK, look, they got the one objective thus far, but other than that, it's a 4K gold lead coming through for Fnatic. You've got a 20 CS lead for Whippo on the top side of the map even, but you've got a 20 CS lead in the mid lane as well. Yes, Brox is a little bit behind, but the plate gold that they were able to grab in the early game on top of the tower, and now the Mountain Drake as well. Fnatic completely in the driver's seat, and Mountain Drake on a team that wants to push, wants to take towers, and eventually could want to take objectives here is a frustrating prospect to play against.
And again, it's a reminder that if this was going to be a slower paced game than the last game that we just saw, both SK and Fnatic, probably in comms, are fine with that because they feel that they have the appropriate tools when it comes to late game. But I just feel like you gotta lean towards the Fnatic camp here. I don't think I'm out of line saying that they're probably the favorites coming to this game, especially for how they finish 3rd place over SK's, miracle playoff attempt.
And also, Reckless saying that that wasn't good Fnatic. That was like a work in progress kind of Fnatic.
But this is new Fnatic.
True, but we also know that this is a work in progress SK because Sakurai has just joined the lineup. So while last split you might have given SK kind of some of the benefit of the doubt as we move into mid to late game team fights, as they do have some strength there, especially with a player like Crownshot in their lineup, we don't know how Sakurai is going to fit into this puzzle, what he is actually going to provide as we move later into the game.
Feels like the expectation should have been a lot more top lane camp, however, and trying to snowball him ahead. So it's always hard to tell what you're going to get in the game. There's still plenty of time left, but it just feels like they're kind of playing PvE.
SK trying to force.
That was good.
Going to go to the bot for the double flay. Crownshot, though, uncontested on the backside, is going to throw down a good amount of damage on the Hylissang. The walk-up is there. The follow-up CC goes golden. Dreams now caught out in the middle of the team. We got 2 TPs coming in. The fight stops for a brief moment, but SK, can they make it out? Dreams is going to be the sacrificial Nautilus. Will walk away. Sakurai not going to get anything else. Fnatic coming out on top once again.
I mean, that's Hilly getting a sick flay and then missing the death sentence on the immobile target.
Whippo fearlessly stepping forward here. Megan Art is on the way in. Can just look to extend the play. Where is he going to go? Flash forward, Gnar into the wall! Big moves from Whippo. Selfmade is going to look to punish Sakura. He's going to get the shutdown. However, a bit of gold into his pocket, but the hook lands over the wall. Hillisang coming online in the mid-game.
It's flipping those coins, and anytime it pops up heads, you're reminded why Hilly is such an amazing playmaker right there. 0-1 and 5 right now on this Thresh, participating in only, or most of the kills, only a single kill outside of his death sentence. Nailed it. It's day one.
Got it. I liked how you bought time to try to figure out what the percentage was on 5 out of 6, and you're like, why couldn't it be 4 out of 5? Why couldn't it be easier? Oh. Math on air, folks, very difficult. Some of you are mocking us. You're much better at mental math than we are. Anyway, 19 minutes into the game, just about a 6K gold lead for Fnatic. So
just I'd like say a quiet 6K gold lead at 19 minutes. That's actually massive.
It's huge. We've had actually incredibly quick games today. I thought the G2 game was like an outlier, and it feels more like it might be a pace setter after the Misfits game we saw, and now this Fnatic game as well. So while in the past these SK games have felt very SK versus Fnatic games felt SK dominated, this one is a very different story.
Yeah, so right there, that's a sick play to catch the Jarvan right out, and you're like, yes, Hilly is back on the Thresh. We've got this, boys. And then this one is unfortunate, but it doesn't matter because the rest of Fnatic, they responded, and they are able to chase down SK and really punish them.
Of course, this replay brought to you by Alienware. Tons of value in an Alienware, just like there's tons of value on that sick Gnarl. Nailed it. Anyway, Whippo makes it out as well, so just a highlight moment for him, but now the immediate turn. Oh, it's Dunk City. They're killing them all, folks. Now the dash over the wall. Sakura has to flash to safety. The cocoon lands as well. Broxton, no, you can't thread it like that. Period. Puts up a wall, tries to buy time, but Hillisang comes over. The shutdown going through. Sakura picking up all of the cleanup kills, but dies before he can pop off. The Blossom will not connect, and it's Crown Shot all on his lonesome standing under that tower.
It's just disgusting. In the last 5 minutes, all the skill shots are hitting. They're being layered beautifully right there. That was another cocoon to...
Oh, God! It's highlight reel after highlight reel. Crown Shot. Clean plays.
Dodges the cocoon with the ultimate and then gets the flash to make sure that he locks down Broxa. Very nicely done.
Sliding, gliding.
This is a 1-2 step game.
Yeah, I like it. People are moving in this game. We're not even at 3 items yet, Frostburn. Already people are going in.
That said, Crown Shot, you did get the nice highlight play. Well done. It's still close to a 10,000 gold difference between the two teams.
Let's be clear here. We're praising him for the highlight play. SK is still getting smashed. Very difficult position to be in. 20 minutes into the game, Fnatic with a Mountain Drake, with so many of their members looking very strong. They don't have the fastest take in the world on that Baron, but given how far ahead they are, I feel like it's going to be much faster than people expect, and things are only going to get harder for SK. They've really yet to find a team fight. They've just been dove over and over and over again. They just keep starting these fights on the back foot.
They're going to approach this dragon, although I would really say that they should back off. I think SK agree.
2 items now coming in, forcing out ultimate there. Reckless using his ultimate back. Dreams has now overstayed his welcome. We'll get the Aftershock proc, but it's too little, too late. Reckless now dominating. Boomerang coming in from Whippo. Can chase him down if he wants to, but will back off. Fnatic have their eyes on the real prize, and that is the second mountain. Nemesis and Broxa will get this one kicked off. So the control ward is cleared, and SK are just forced to match in mid lane.
And it just feels like SK just keep throwing the same punch, and unfortunately it's just not working. They need to kind of change up the playbook because they keep looking for these scrappy fights, these attempted picks, and they are just running headfirst into the meat grinder. Really unfortunate. Kind of painful to watch.
There's a lot of, yes, spinning blades on this team. Bit difficult. Fnatic, I feels like now that they have this deep vision looked in, if we look at the top side of the jungle here, it's just so hard for SK to move out. And is this just the point where Fnatic just take over this Baron pit?
I mean, Fnatic could play this game out in multiple ways because of how far ahead their solo laners are, as well as their ADC. Like, if they want to, you could just group up and you could use the Reckless, 3 items, 6-0 and 4 right now, and you could just mow people over. Or, if you want, you can play into the side lanes. Whippo's got a Thornmail. Who can deal with him? Nemesis is massive on Aurelia. Who can deal with her?
Brox also has double magic pen items and is a level 11 Elise, so I don't think that there's... Oh, Crown Shot! That is both of the defensive options burned for one of the stronger members on the SK lineup. That is going to make the coming fights much more difficult.
And it was basically entirely in response to a single Q from Thresh and the Sivir ultimate for just, you know, the terrifying measure.
Just got to scare him. It worked. Ground shot, got hooked.
Makes
Cleansed,
it that
ulted.
much easier to walk over to the Baron and to either bait and just wait, because now the ADC missing huge key cooldowns.
And I like this. They know that they have total control. Nemesis moves into the top side. The member whose TP is on cooldown. Whippo, the member who has TP, up and available, pushing in. Now, SK, I'll say, very brave move to move into that jungle without perfect information, but they saw Nemesis top side, so not the end of the world. And Whippo now backing off, ready to TP in if needed. Do you ever miss talking about rage management on Gnar?
I mean, at this point, it really doesn't matter. You're not super dependent on the Mega Gnars, like the game-changing
It's like,
moment.
honestly, if Mini Gnar TP's in, we're still probably fine. It's gonna poke him. Ooh. I wonder if they'll ever change that. That has to be the best feeling when you escape and the worst feeling when they don't. Guys, you don't need 3 members to do the Baron. Fun fact, 2. Fnatic have kicked it off. 9k gold lead for Fnatic, making it quite easy. SK don't even know what's happening because they see so many members of the Fnatic lineup on the map. Dreams, the only member wise to the play, is going to step forward, but it's too little too late. Baron will drop for Fnatic. 10k gold lead.
Yep, we've crossed over the marker, and now Fnatic full control. How do they want to close it out? Do they want to continue to play these side lanes? Do they want to group up? They can just hard dive the tower at this point. Again, Crownshot does have access to his ultimate, but doesn't have flash and cleanse. And maybe Fnatic decide that without those key defensive summoners, it's enough that they could look for the dive. Don't have to. Again, they can play the 1-3-1. You've seen Nemesis and Whippo going out to your side lanes. The world is their oyster. However they want to attack this game, they get to decide.
And that's what I think is so frustrating about playing against a pick like an Aurelia, and why we do see her banned so much, is that she's a pretty good team fighter, and she's a fantastic split pusher. So very difficult to stop this champion from taking over, and even Whippo has itemized for a bit of attack speed, happy to play more for the 1v1.
Look at how confident Reckless and Hilly are, that they just kind of go on their own adventures into the jungle, just hunting for kids.
Reckless talked about, he felt like the split was going to start off on a good note, and this is a pretty good note. 10k gold lead, 5 towers to 0. Absolute vision control on the top side. Whippo's pushing in. Now matched.
Maybe this means that we need to reassess expectations, because it feels like, Dragos, you and I were feeling that this was very Fnatic favored, but ultimately, if you look at the history, SK probably felt pretty good going into this matchup. Fnatic didn't want to face them into the playoffs, didn't have the winning record against them in the regular split, and I think what's really interesting is kind of goal setting. Where are the goalposts for both these teams and what good looks like? For Fnatic, it feels like, either win Worlds or the fans will never be pleased. For SK, though, is it just another repeat into the playoffs, or are they looking for more?
Well, we heard from Selfmade in an interview that he talked about, there's nothing to be proud about. Being a mediocre team making it into playoffs, not making your mark, and it feels like they had their aspirations set higher. And given that 2-0 you talked about already, it does feel like maybe we expected SK to come in on more even footing. As a team that showed us so much in their first split, we thought, hey, the second split has to be better right off the bat. But they have made changes. Things have been shifted up, and Fnatic have clearly only gotten more and more confident in the roster they started this year with.
I definitely expected a lot more out of SK than this. It really has felt like a bit of a spectator mode as they just watch Fnatic roll over them.
Yeah, sad state to be in. Of course, tons of target bans directed at Selfmade. Have to wonder if he is as comfortable on this Jarvan as he is on something like the Rek'Sai. I like the Lee Sin, one of those options that was taken away, that was limited. But for now, SK holding on. Once again, late game, if you go late enough, can be a much closer fight than a lot of people may expect. But Gnar does a lot of damage. I'm holding that back much, much later in the game. So for now, SK very much on the back foot, doing everything they can to hold on to these inhibitors. Once one falls, it feels like probably the end of the game.
They are just getting chipped away at, not just their towers, however, but also their health bars. And this is one of the obnoxious things when you're facing the likes of a Sivir and a very strong Gnar right now, is dealing with that long-range chip damage.
Oof. 1 tower down, 2 towers down. It's like they synced it up. Inhibitor next on the list, both bot lane and mid lane inhibitor. Of course, 18 seconds left on the Baron buff. Selfmade, though, flashing forward onto Whippo, wants to get something kicked off. Will force the flash back. Not going to amount to too much. The hook going wide from Hylissang. Good control ward there to stop any vision being placed over the wall so he can continue to fish from Fog of War. And Azir Tower is going to buy a bit of time as well as clear out some of these minions, but now they're setting their sights on the top side of the map. It is a slow, controlled bleed out. Fnatic do not want to give SK a chance to get their head up from underwater. And instead, we'll just slowly close in and look to end the game.
Actually very curious that Fnatic played it so cautiously right there. Now the thing about SK's composition is when they are all grouped up, it can still be very devastating. Again, we always talk about like the wombo combo. But the thing is they did a good job playing all 3 lanes to make sure that SK were never in a position where they were grouped up, where they felt confident to pull the trigger together. But without having access to the Flash and the Cataclysm, I thought for sure that Fnatic would be like, okay, it's time to end the game. They don't have one of their key engage ultimates. So I personally feel like they could have pushed the envelope a little bit more, especially if they do happen to wipe there. You know, there's not like you trade back a Baron. I think they're playing this one a bit more respectful than I think the gold difference says.
Ah!
Disaster.
Got him! Kobe! Anyway, nailed that one. Good job, Whippo.
That Cloud Dragon put up more of a fight than I think SK had this game.
Ooh. Fair. All right. Frostgrund, the one thing I will give Fnatic credit for is that they used every second that Baron buff felt like to good effect, that they made the most of all those empowered cannon creeps. And now that if they do want to kick off a fight, they still have a bit of time where Self-Made Flash is down, and they can just group as 5 and walk down mid lane and break these inhibitors. Whippo now stepping forward. Crownshot immediately has to run, though, burning the Flash as well. Snare is going to connect. Pyrion throwing back a little bit of damage. Broxa on the back side. Once again, small incremental advantages for Fnatic, getting some of those cooldowns backing off, not looking to overextend, but Self-Made in Dreams, or hoping to find the punish. Teams really love death brushing in that specific brush.
It's a high traffic area.
Get him. Fnatic not going to take the bait, will move up. Will they make a death brush of their own?
There's a numbers advantage for SK here, at least initially. If they find someone and can quickly delete them, they can, you know, turn the tides for themselves.
In the battle for the red buff, Crownshot does come out on top. I like that SK are always a team that are willing to continue trying, however. There are so many teams in the past in the LEC or the EULCS that we've seen just when they start to lose, they just keep losing and they bleed out. They don't really do anything, but SK are still moving, still posturing. Like, if they see that pick, if they find that opportunity, they will take it.
Just feels like they have a narrow window to look for those opportunities, because I have a feeling that we're going to see the ultimates come back up for Aurelia and Sivir, and then Fnatic are going to try a very similar maneuver where they literally just sprint at someone.
Oh, look, there it is. The sprint at someone maneuver. TP coming in on the backside. Self-Made might need to make his way out to safety. That is a mega gnar. If he gets in the midst of the team, it will be disaster. But leaping forward, throwing it back. Not going to get much done, though. Pyrion's still alive. Nemesis going to the backside. Crownshot is there. They're focusing down the Aurelia. But no, not enough. Sterex Gage buying Nemesis of plenty of time. Broxa leaping forward onto Pyrion. The double kill comes through for the Fnatic jungler. Crownshot goes golden, but he just gets to watch himself die. Another kill going over in favor of Fnatic, and that's going to be it.
It's over. We were just waiting for the cooldowns. Fnatic showed that they had the confidence. They couldn't make it stick the first time around, but they got the key summoners from Crownshot and made good on it the second time around. They will not be 4-0'd. Fnatic strike back against SK.
And with confidence, Fnatic opened the split. SK could not find their footing in the game, could not find any opportunities, and it is dominance from Fnatic in their first match.
And frankly, it just looked a little bit too easy. There was the staples from a Fnatic game, you know, the early TPs into Reckless's lane, but it was Nemesis who was the big beneficiary picking up those kills. And once he had control, once he had the power pick like the Aurelia, it was how he used that control in the mid lane into the river to just start pushing pressure around and taking whatever they wanted.
And how much attention Pyrion got. So difficult to play against. There's just so much setup CC. There's so much follow-up CC as well in that Fnatic lineup. And well played overall. Never felt like they were out of the driver's seat. Felt like they were in total control. Outside of maybe one play on the bottom side of the map in the early game, it was a story of Fnatic dominance here in their first match on stage. And for SK, I feel like we've been left a little wanting. Need to see what they can show in their match tomorrow. For now, they didn't get to show us a lot.
I feel like the SK dream is that you get Self-Made again on a very aggressive jungle pick, and I really want to see him team up with their new top laner, because that's what I've been hyped about. I keep hearing that this guy was popping off in EU Masters, that he can really be a carry, and I would love to see SK kind of diversify their playstyle with a carry-oriented top laner, and then just start going hard in the paint. Fortunately, this game, very much a slow start.
Absolutely. And what was expected to be a slow start, you know, we talked about how this could totally just be that 3-item team fighting game. The thing that I liked about Fnatic is they did still see those opportunities, they did still catch it, and it feels like they set themselves up more for that thing that you're talking about where you're passing the baton, where they had threats in the early game. They had the Aurelia, they had the Elise, where it moved nicely into mid game where you've got that 1-item Gnar, Sivir who can be that wave clear functionality, and Freshu obviously makes an excellent roamer, and it seems like they really set themselves up for a game that they wanted to play.
It was actually a really good example of kind of the similarities and the difference between SK. The fact that SK Gaming constantly look for these scrappy fights. They're a very fast team to pull the trigger, whereas like Fnatic, they set up kind of that perfect moment where the cooldowns are all there. They know that if they catch you, that's how they end. And I feel like it almost feels like the evolution for SK Gaming would be to get closer to Fnatic's playstyle because there are such similarities there.
And it feels like at some points they did capitalize on that well, but they just weren't able to make more out of it. I think you make a good point. We'll look at this. Of course, we can take a look back at the big fight for Fnatic 20 minutes in, where we see a lot of that team fighting prowess, that ability to punish some of these small cooldowns not being available.
Trying to remember which fight this one was. Ah, I remember. It was the one Dreams disappeared in. That's a nightmare.
Really difficult spot for old mate Nautilus. And of course, reminder, we did see Aftershock nerfed. At level 1, you get the same resistances, but you do need to build armor and MR to get back to the point where it used to be. And even if you build a ton of armor and MR, it will only get back to an even state with the unnerfed version. And a nice highlight there that there might have been one very crucial member absent from the fight. But also a nice highlight here is this one, shabloosh. That's the sound effects. They won't let me make it. They prefer the feathers sound effect. I prefer shabloosh.
I would love a Xayah skin that's just sound effects by you.
That's the dream. Well, after the break, guys, we are going to hear from Broxah.
Look at that. That is a straight wall.
We got the cliff in a previous game. We get the wall in this game. Difficult climb for SK. Of course, Fnatic, though, making it look easy. And when you talk about it, I think it's hard. Who do you pick out in this game as your one standout player? Potentially your key player of the game.
I think each Fnatic member had their moments. I liked Nemesis in the early game, especially with the initial trigger on the teleport pole. I loved Broxah aggressive in Elise, and I think Hilly. Oh, did I get it? No, what?
Reckless.
Where's Nemesis?
He played Sipper.
And he had a really good KDA.
So many people. Had a really good KDA. Of course, Broxah set up a lot in the Elise in the early game, and I think that has to feel good for Broxah, because remember that he is, while it's not about Broxah underperforming, it was about Dan performing very well, it still feels like there has to be a certain degree of uncertainty, and that confidence from winning would be huge. But of course, vote for who you want to vote for. There are 3 options. Twitter at All Esports is the place. Coming up next, it is our final game of the day. Schalke, No Fear, and Excel Esports take to the stage. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.